Hello, welcome to TWU Visual Art Department's Art Day. My name is Dr. Sara Ishii, and I am a visiting assistant professor of art history. One big idea that we're emphasizing for Art Day is social justice. This is the idea that everyone should be treated equitably and everyone should have equal political, economic, and social rights. As a high school student, you can advocate for social change. Art is an important tool not only to express yourself, but also voice your opinions on how we can create change and motivate people to act. At TWU, you can develop your personal voice in the visual arts. And as a visual arts department, we embrace social justice, advocacy, and support diversity and inclusion. And TWU as a whole is committed to transformational learning, discovery, and service in an inclusive environment. In this video, I'll be discussing the social justice issue child hunger, specifically within the United States, although this is a global issue. Families across our country struggle to provide their children with healthy meals. Many people lack access to fresh fruits and vegetables because they live in a food desert, so areas that don't have stores that sell fresh fruits or vegetables, or families live in poverty and cannot afford fresh foods. The COVID pandemic has made child hunger even worse because children don't know where they're going to get their next meal outside of school. One way that we can advocate to stop child hunger is to promote ways people can get involved, such as donating to food banks and volunteering at soup kitchens and food banks. I'd like to prompt you to think of a design that, one, informs your audience of the issue of child hunger, and two, provides one way that people can address the problem. First, I'd like to share with you our design studio students' work. Then later in the video, I will show some artist examples that may inspire your work. This artwork was created by our undergraduate students, Hannah Gibson and Koyellen Wiley. What's interesting about Hannah and Koyellen's design is that they use both traditional and digital methods. It's great if you also enjoy using traditional and digital techniques. At TWU, we encourage students to take courses in several types of studio art. We have foundation studio courses such as drawing foundations, 2D foundations, 3D foundations, and digital foundations that are great in introducing you to traditional and digital materials and tools. However, for this workshop, if you prefer one medium or the other, that's totally fine. I want you to be able to choose a medium that best serves your concept. And feel free to experiment too. That's what's so great about art, is that you get the opportunity to experiment with different techniques and materials. So let me walk you through Koyellen and Hannah's design and show you how they went through this process to create the image. Here I have a list of materials and media they used and how. First, they sketched their idea with a pencil and paper. Second, they photographed the food they'd like to include in their final image. Third, they import their photograph into Adobe Photoshop to edit the image. And fourth, they use Adobe Illustrator to finish their design. Because our visual arts students have access to Adobe Suite and can take several courses to develop skills in the programs, this is what Koyellen and Hannah use. However, for your prompt, you can use whatever materials and programs you have available to you. For example, your camera phone and free editing software work great as well. Here we see Hannah and Koyellen experimenting with two different compositions for their design. Both sketches place a message in the food, but the presentation of the food is different. On one side, we see hands offering a bowl of soup, and then on the second image, we have soup in a place setting. Both images are great, but they will send different messages. For example, the hands offering a bowl of soup might work better with a design that's encouraging people to volunteer at a soup kitchen, while the design of a table setting might work better with a message to donate foods to a food bank. In the second stage of their process, Hannah and Koyellen work on photographing a bowl of soup for the final design. Knowing that they need to spell out the message and child hunger, they sorted out the letters from a Campbell's alphabet soup and picked out the ones that they needed. Note that they didn't have any G's, which was totally okay. They used C's instead and would be able to then edit that in Photoshop. After finding the right letters, Koyalin and Hannah arranged the message on cut pieces of styrofoam found at a local craft store. By placing the letters on the styrofoam, they can ensure that their message will stay in place. They then fill the bowl with tomato soup. You'll notice that they cover the styrofoam with soup but don't submerge the foam. This way the letters will stay in place and they can then edit the styrofoam shapes out in Adobe Photoshop. Importing the photo into Adobe Photoshop, Hannah and Koyalin first adjusted the lighting to add contrast. Next, they cut out the bowl from the background to give them different background options. And they also changed the letter C to a G in hunger. Next, they used the stamp tool to edit out the styrofoam base. Then they used the smudge tool in order to smooth out the rough edges created by that stamping tool. The last things that Koyalin and Hannah did in Photoshop was to move the C in child and R in hunger closer to the rest of the text and added an image of a spoon. Some of the techniques they use here our students learn in their Digital Foundations course. In the class, students are also introduced to Adobe Illustrator, which is what Hannah and Koyalin use next. In Adobe Illustrator, Hannah and Koyalin created a layout with two color variations. You'll notice that the darker color gives a stronger background on which they can lay their text. Finally, the pair created a red outline around the number 13, and this adds visual impact to that number. The pair thought carefully about their color palette. You'll notice how the background's yellow color matches the pasta letters, and the red outline around the number 13 is echoing the same red that you see in the soup and the bowl. Repeating colors in their design help create a cohesive image and helps direct our eye around their design. In discussions with their fellow design studio classmates, they were encouraged to find a fact on the topic. Adding factual information, such as a statistic, can lend power and impact to your design. Also remember to cite your sources, not only to give credit where credit is due, but also it lends a credibility to your design. In your design, consider how text and graphics strengthen your image. So for example, in one of our upper level graphic design courses, Visual Identity and Symbols, students also use Illustrator to create logos and symbol systems. Similar to Koyalin and Hannah's design, other artists have used images and text to advocate for social change. I have a few examples that I'd like to share with you of artwork that, for example, I might use in one of my art history classes, such as Women in the Visual Arts or World Art History. In this first example, Esther Hernandez created a screen print that plays on the well-known Sun-Made Raisin ad to comment on the issue of farm workers in her Northern California community getting sick from chemicals used in commercial farming. Notice how Hernandez takes a recognizable design and makes a play on the original packaging to emphasize the numerous chemicals farm workers are exposed to. In a similar way, advertisements also take well-known images like logos and make spoofs or parodies of corporate and political advertising. Here are some examples of clever changes that the artists make to traditional advertising campaigns in order to create a social statement. I hope that this video has inspired you to create your own design that addresses the issue of child hunger. Social justice is something that we in the TWU Visual Arts Department are very passionate about. We embrace diversity and inclusion and cultivate a community-oriented program. In our programs that include graphic design, art education, and studio art, such as painting and drawing, 3D design, and photography, you can cultivate your artistic vision and explore multiple media. We also provide individualized attention from faculty and prepare you for careers and graduate programs in the visual arts. I wanted to end with our works cited in order to give credit where credit is due. And thank you so much for participating in Art Day. I hope I have the opportunity to meet with you and see your art. Please feel free to contact me. I've included my email here. I'd love to hear from you, hear you talk about your work, and then share more about our program. Have a wonderful art day and happy creating.